Good evening, everybody. We might have some more people coming in. Are you coming in? My name is Janis Gebhart, and I'm with the Juice Plus company. I'm a sales coordinator with them. I have been involved with the company and the product for 5.5 years now. And when I first heard about Juice Plus, it made sense to me because at the time my kids were younger and we were on the go 4 nights a week, like you guys, volleyball practice, and had one in volleyball, one in dance, and we were all over the place. And we didn't have time to eat right. And we were always going through drive-thrus and different things like that. And so when I heard about Juice Plus, I immediately signed up to take the product, and within a week myself, I had more energy and thought that was the coolest thing. And my daughter, who was playing volleyball at the time, she was, I don't know, probably 15 or something like that. She said, I told her, I said, okay, well, I got this for you and I want you to take this because this will help your performance, it will help muscle repair, it will help a lot of different things. And she said, I'm not taking it. And I said, okay then, if you're not going to take it, then you're not playing volleyball. Because I am not spending all that money for you to play volleyball if you're not going to take care of your body and your health. So that's my story, and she's 22 now. This was 5-6 years ago, and she still takes her Juice Plus every day. I don't know about every day, but she still takes her Juice Plus and has noticed a difference. She did notice a difference in her performance. She was not sick. She said she was more focused when she was studying, and that was a really good thing for all of us. So that's our experience with Juice Plus. Love the product, love the company, love the people. It's just awesome. So, but I'm not really here to tell you about Juice Plus. Janis Gebhart is. And Janis was a collegiate backstroke champion and record holder at the University of Missouri. Janis has a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, and she worked in the corporate world as a management information consultant for nearly 10 years. Upon the birth of her first child, she realized that the corporate world and motherhood were not a good combination for her. So after the birth of her last child, she has 4 children, she became interested in the role that nutrition plays in the prevention of disease, especially cancer. So she discovered the Juice Plus products, and they made a big difference in her energy level and with her family's immune systems. Her 4 children were avoiding the colds and flus that their friends were getting. And Janis also went from being an overwhelmed and exhausted mother, as a lot of us can relate, to becoming a national master swimming champion in 3 backstroke events in 2007. And she also completed a half Ironman at the age of 50. You don't even look 50. Bless you. She's passionate about helping others to understand the connection between their diet and vitality. So please help me welcome Janis Gebhart.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming in. And I'll just tell you, I'm a very casual person, so this will be a little bit interactive. I love talking to athletes, and I know I talked to you guys a little bit. You guys are about to start here, right, playing volleyball. And are there other volleyball players? That's awesome. And parents of volleyball players? Parents of other athletes? Okay. So, really my passion is talking to athletes your all's age and your parents about how important nutrition is. So like Jenny said, I grew up swimming. I was a swimmer. It actually paid for my college, which I'll just tell you, when I started swimming when I was 7, which 100 years ago when I started swimming, that was actually pretty young. Now kids start at like 3 and 4. It's crazy. But I started swimming. I was, without fail, and I'm not exaggerating, I was the worst kid on the team. I was horrible, and I didn't have that competitive spirit in me. And so I went from like when I was 7 and 8 and even 9, in swimming, their age groups are 8 and under, and back then they were 8 and under, and then 9 and 10. And when I was 9, the 7 and 8-year-olds used to like to race me because they thought it was cool that they could beat a 9-year-old. Like, honestly, it didn't even faze me. I was like, okay, sure. You know, just kind of went over my head. But at about 12 to 13 is when that competitive spirit just kicked in me. And I can't explain why. And I always tell parents, you know, especially of little kids that are so worried about, you know, getting them all this extra coaching and, you know, having them be so competitive, it's like, it'll come. It'll either come or it won't, right? So when I graduated from high school, I had you know, was very driven, very competitive, and I got a college scholarship, and I remember running into that coach when I was 7, and he was shocked, which I don't blame him. He said, of all the swimmers I've ever coached, you would be the last person I would ever expect to get a college scholarship. But, you know, it's just kind of that hard work that it takes. And so I know for you guys as athletes how hard you work. And part of my goal is for you is to help you to make the most of that hard work. Because you don't want to work hard and just have it go to waste. Do you? It's okay, you can. I don't want you to work hard and have it go to waste. But a lot of times if you don't have the right nutrition going into you, that's what's happening a lot of times. And when I was swimming, nobody ever talked to us about nutrition, ever. In college, the swimmers didn't get to eat in the athletes' dining hall. We had to eat in the regular dining hall because we weren't a non-revenue sport. We didn't bring in any money. And nobody, you know, I can tell you what I ate in college, but I'm embarrassed to tell you, and somehow I'm still alive. But knowing what I know now, if somebody would have said, you know what, eat a vegetable every once in a while, I would have been the kid that did it, because I would have done whatever it took to get better and better and better. You know, that I worked my tail off, and I wanted to get better, but no one ever told us what to eat. And so honestly, I never ate vegetables. I didn't grow up eating them. And so everyone has kind of, you know, their sob story. So when I was the summer after my freshman year of college was the '84 Olympics, and my goal was to make the Olympic trials. And my event was the 200-yard backstroke or 200-meter backstroke, which is what qualifies you for the Olympic trials. And that summer in swimming, you have a certain time, and if you hit that qualifying time, then you get to go to the Olympic trials. In the 200 backstroke, which is over 2 minutes long, I missed qualifying by 2/100ths of a second. So, I mean, you can't even imagine what a quick amount of time that is. But I look back now, and it's fine. I did well in college, and I've had a fairly pretty successful life. And you learn some hard lessons. But I look back and think, if somebody would have said, you know what, don't eat so much junk and eat a few more vegetables every day, I would have done it, and there's no doubt in my mind that I would have been able to qualify for the Olympic trials. So I want you guys to learn from my mistakes. And think about that when your parents are saying, eat this. Because they're not saying it to try to torture you, they're saying it because they love you, and they want all that hard work that you're doing to go for good. Preach it. And for all you parents, I have 4 kids, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them later, but they're all athletes. I have 2 that are in college, and they're actually, one is a tennis player at Colorado Christian University, and one is a diver at Florida State. And then I have 2 in high school, and they're both tennis players. And my hat's off to all of you parents, because I know now, what it's like, getting your kids to the right place at the right time, and, making everything work, being able to pay for it, all of that kind of stuff. And you guys have a lot of stress. So everything I'm saying today about the athletes, it applies to you too. Because what's good for an athlete is also excellent for a parent. Whether you run races or are athletic or not, it's still everything that I'm going to say still applies. So, as an athlete, or for your child, what are your goals? You want to run faster, jump higher, be stronger, things like that? Is that what you think of? So what about things like keeping your muscles well fueled? Do you think about that when I talk about what do you want? If your muscles are well fueled, you're going to be able to run faster and jump higher. Keeping your tissues and joints protected, right, so that you don't get injured. Is that kind of important? What about improving your blood flow? You don't think about that when you're out on the volleyball court, but it's so important to make sure your blood is flowing right and getting all of the nutrients to every cell that needs it, and the oxygen to every cell that needs it. What about decreasing oxidative stress? We're going to talk more about what oxidative stress is. And protecting your immune system. Do you want to get sick? So you have to miss practices and games? Volleyball's matches, right? Not games. Sorry. And I'll just tell you, when I was in high school, I would get, and I'll explain more about why this would happen to me later on when we talk about oxidative stress, but I would get sick every spring and every fall, especially in the fall, and it would turn into bronchitis or pneumonia every year. So think about all of those practices that I missed. And then think about, getting to the Olympic trials. If I would have missed a few less practices, I probably would have made it there. And in fact, my sophomore year of high school, I went to one day of school between Thanksgiving and Christmas because I was that sick. And I know now it's because I didn't give my body the nutrition that it needed. I was working so hard and I didn't give my body the nutrition that it needed, so my body couldn't repair and recover. And your body's going to pay the price somewhere if you're not giving it the right nutrition. So, and for me, it was upper respiratory system. I had upper respiratory issues pretty much from high school on through my whole adult life until about 14 years ago. When I learned about Juice Plus, which we're going to talk about, and I made some changes to my diet. So, for all of the athletes in here, if let's say you woke up on your 16th birthday and your parents had that car sitting out in the driveway for you, would you be excited? I'm really not a car person, so I don't even know what kind of car that is, but I would be excited. So what kind of fuel would you put in the gas tank? Would you put like a high octane fuel so that it would run really well forever for a long, long time? High performance gasoline? Or would you go, I kind of feel bad for that car. I think maybe it would enjoy some Kool-Aid. Or I kind of feel bad for that car. Maybe it would enjoy a soda or a Starbucks or something like that. Would you ever put that in the gas tank of that? No, because if you did, what would happen? Right. It would stop working, right? It wouldn't work. It would kind of sputter and cough and do all kinds of things, and you wouldn't sit back and go, darn, that car just got really, really unlucky, right? You would know exactly why it wasn't working the way it was supposed to work. So, and for all you athletes, you guys are more than $1 million machine in your parents' eyes. You may not feel like it every day. My youngest is 15, and right about now she doesn't feel like she got in big trouble over the weekend. So. But you always are, whether you're in trouble or not. So what kind of fuel are you going to put into your body? You're going to put high performance gasoline, right? Not literally gasoline, but high performance gasoline for human beings is whole food nutrition. And what do I mean by whole food nutrition? I mean real live food, right? You go to the grocery store and if you read the ingredients of what you're picking up, either you can pronounce everything on there or you can't. All of those things you can't pronounce, those aren't food, those are chemicals. And that's not whole food nutrition. Whole food nutrition is things you find in the perimeter of the grocery store, like in the fruit and vegetable section. And, meats and the things on the perimeter that are actually food that come from the ground. Does that make sense? And whole food nutrition means quality carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and fiber. Okay, and I think people are pretty familiar with those. Those are the macronutrients, the carbohydrates, proteins, fats. But you also need micronutrients, which are the vitamins and minerals like antioxidants and phytonutrients. So you need to eat real food. And love this one. It gets confusing, right? You can look online, you can go to so many different places, and everyone's telling you different things, and it kind of just gets all jumbled up, and you kind of go, I really don't know what I should be doing. Does that sound about right? So the macronutrients, which are the proteins, the fiber, the fats, the carbs, I mean, I can give you some generalities in terms of that, but I think that's pretty well known. It's the micronutrients, and really depending on your specific, your blood work, to be honest, nutritionists can tell you specifically, they can create meal plans for you and things like that. I can't stand up here and say, okay, before you go to practice, this is exactly what you should eat, because that's really different for everybody. And if you are doing, a lot of my friends, so I did, about a year ago, I did my first half Ironman, which that's a 6-hour race. You're swimming, biking, and running for 6 hours. A lot of my friends do Ironman, full Ironman, which that's, like 12, 13, 14-hour race. And so they're very concerned with what to eat during the race, and they go and actually get their blood work done and have people tell them, okay, this is, how much water you need to consume and how much sodium and all these different things. For volleyball, you might be at a tournament all day long, but you're playing for a while and then not, and playing for a while and not. So it varies depending on what type of sport you're doing. So I'm not going to specifically tell you what exactly you should be eating, but I am going to tell you about the micronutrients. And I'll get to this in a minute. So I am going to tell you about the micronutrients because that's the same for everybody. Okay? So one thing, I want to go through some kind of common myths here. So protein, we all need protein, right? And how many of you, when I say protein, you think of something like this steak? Most people? I think that's typical. And I'll start this off by telling you I'm not a vegetarian. I don't eat a whole lot of meat. And I think whether you're vegetarian or not, and whether you cut out certain food groups is a very personal decision. And it's not up to me or anybody else to tell you what's right in terms of that. But I want to give you some facts so that you're educated. So we typically think of steak or some sort of meat in terms of protein, right? Well, steak has 5.4 grams of protein per 100 calories. Can anyone take a guess at what has more protein for the same amount of calories? What I'm going to show you is going to surprise you. I'll tell you that. Broccoli. Who would have guessed? So broccoli has 11.2 grams of protein per 100 calories. Is that surprising? So I don't want to mislead you here. Steak has 5.4 grams of protein per 100 calories. 100 calories of steak is like this much steak, right? It's a small amount. Steak has a lot of calories. 100 calories of broccoli is like 2 or 3 heads of broccoli, because broccoli doesn't have a lot of calories. So you're not comparing this much to this much. You're comparing this much steak to this much broccoli. But calorie for calorie, broccoli broccoli has more protein than steak does. So, if, just keep that in mind. You don't have to have a whole lot of meat to get a whole lot of protein. Does that make sense? And in fact, this is what I recommend. This is what I use every morning for breakfast, is Juice Plus Complete, which is a shake mix, and it's delicious. I've been having it for breakfast literally every morning for about the past 14 years. I mean, there are a few mornings that I don't have a shake, but 90% of the time, this is what I have for breakfast, and I've never gotten tired of it. I mix it in a blender, and in the morning, and I throw in, I use like almond milk or coconut milk. We have dairy allergies in my house, so I don't do dairy, but almond milk or coconut milk, and I'll throw in some frozen fruit. I actually throw in a handful of spinach. You can't taste spinach. And when you mix it up in a smoothie, no one knows it's there except for the color. So this shake mix is low fat, low sugar, low glycemic, gluten-free, vegan, non-GMO, okay? And it has plant-based protein. So you're getting that really good protein like you would from broccoli without all the calories. Does that make sense? It has a great fiber blend, so it keeps you satiated. I have a smoothie. I get up really early in the mornings. I was a swimmer my whole life, and swimmers get up at 5 in the morning to go to practice. So yeah, I'm up usually before 5 every day. So I drink a shake early in the day, and it keeps me satiated until noon or 1 o'clock. Anything else I eat for breakfast, I'm starving by 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. It has ancient grains and sprouts, which have a lot of those trace minerals that we just don't get in our diet anymore. And it tastes great. So believe it or not, it's a great breakfast. It's great before a workout, after a workout. After a workout, you need to eat something nutritious within 30 minutes of working out so that you give your body the nutrients to repair what you just did to it. Okay, so we're going to talk about the anatomy of a food label. You know how I said if you look at the label, the ingredients label, when I say a label, people usually think I'm talking about the amount of protein and carbs and sugar, things like that. I'm actually talking about reading the ingredients, actually what's in the food. So if you were to look at these 2 jars of peanut butter, for you grocery shoppers in here, what would you use to determine which one you would buy? What? The name brand? For me, it would be the price. Probably. One's less expensive. Anyone else have any ideas? So what if you actually read the ingredients? So this is the name brand. And it has roasted peanuts and sugar. Those are real food. Sugar isn't great for you, but it's at least a real food. And then it says it contains 2% or less of. And the food companies have a way of sort of manipulating us. So we think that because it's 2% or less, it can't make much of a difference, right? So I will tell you, a woman makes 2 tablespoons of estrogen in her entire lifetime. So is that 2 tablespoons of estrogen important? Wow. Yeah. It pretty much controls our moods and a whole lot about us. So teeny tiny little amounts matter. Okay, just because it says 2% or less doesn't mean that it's not important. It is. So 2% or less of molasses, which is another form of sugar, partially hydrogenated vegetable oil. Does that come from the ground? No. Vegetable oil might, right? It doesn't come straight from the ground, but it might come from a vegetable. But partially hydrogenated means it's been adulterated. It doesn't look anything like anything that you should put inside your body. Fully hydrogenated vegetable oils as if partially hydrogenated wasn't bad enough. And then mono and diglycerides. Has anyone ever seen a mono or diglyceride tree? I haven't either. So it's full of chemicals. Okay, you're eating peanut butter and you're thinking, oh, I'm getting some good protein, I'm doing something good for my body, but you're really filling your body with chemicals. Versus this one, ingredients, peanuts. What a novel idea for peanut butter, right? So now knowing the difference in the ingredients, which one would you buy? This one. So I just want to encourage you at the grocery store to pick things up before you buy them and read the ingredients. And the first few times you do this, it's going to make your grocery shopping trip a lot longer, and I apologize for that. But you'll start learning brands that you can trust, and you'll start learning what to buy, and it won't always take you longer to do that. So, sugar, right? It was in that first peanut butter. So, sugar comes in a lot of different forms. Some might be corn syrup, maltose, dextrose, sucrose, fructose. Has anyone ever thought about, you know how that peanut butter, it said peanuts and sugar, and then it said less than 2% of it, it said molasses. You'll see that a lot on ingredients where it lists different types of sugars that are in there. Do you know why the food companies do that?
So you don't think there's too much sugar?
Exactly. Because things are put on the ingredients label in order of what's the most, right? The first ingredient, there's the most of that, and then they go down the list. Well, a lot of items you would buy at the grocery store, the first ingredient would be sugar, except for the fact that they break it up and they put 2 or 3 or 4 different kinds of sugar in there so that each one is further down the list. Does that make sense? But if you were to accumulate them all, they would make up the first ingredient. So they're tricky. And you kind of can't blame them because their job is to sell their foods, but they do it at the expense of our health. So what's so bad about sugar? There's a lot of things that are bad about sugar, but one is the effect that it has on your immune system. And think about this at this time of year. We just had Halloween. We're about to have Thanksgiving coming up, and then it rolls into Christmas, and then it rolls into Valentine's Day, and then it rolls into Easter, right? And then we go for a little while without having that much sugar and candy in our house. So if you had no sugar in your body, in your bloodstream, no outside sugar that you had just eaten, one white blood cell can destroy 14 bacteria in half an hour. Pretty fascinating, huh? And so let's say for every amount of sugar you eat, that number goes down. So let's say you had a frosted brownie, which is about 12 teaspoons of sugar. Then your white blood cells can only destroy 5.5 bacteria in a half an hour instead of 14. So you decreased your immune system by 60%. Let's say you have apple pie a la mode. You've decreased your immune system by 85%. And this lasts for up to 4 hours. So, when they talk about cold and flu season hitting, have you ever recognized the fact that it coincides with Halloween? Like when the Halloween candy comes out is sort of when cold and flu season hits. Because those germs are in the air all the time. They don't just appear at certain times of the year and disappear at other times of the year. They're there all the time. It's just a matter of how strong our immune systems are, whether or not we're going to get certain bugs. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying to never ever eat sugar, but keep it for special occasions. Okay? It's not an everyday kind of food because your immune system is not going to have a fighting chance. Water or fruit juice is really good for, a little heavier exercise. And then I want to encourage you, if you just Google healthy sport drink recipes, you're going to come up with a whole list of websites you can click on. And there are dozens of sports drink recipes that are made from real whole foods. So that's a great resource. Just those are a couple of websites that you can find some things. But if you just Google healthy sports drink recipes, you can make your own. First of all, you're going to save a lot of money over buying Gatorade and Powerade and all of those drinks, and it's a whole lot better for you. And what about sports drink evil big brother energy drinks? And I just have to say, these are a never, ever, 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 ever. No matter what, don't do this. Because they're just really, really bad news. And they're super addictive. Because you drink one, it gives you all this energy, and then usually you can't sleep very well that night. So the next day you're going to need another one because you didn't sleep well the night before. So you need something, right? And it just gets you into this perpetual cycle that's really hard to get out of. So your physical fitness has to be balanced with your nutritional fitness. Because if you're super physically fit, but you don't have the nutrition to back it up, you're going to end up either injured or sick, or a lot of that effort that you're doing is just going to waste. So when you train, you have performance gains, right? The more you run, the longer distance you're going to be able to run, and the faster you're going to be able to run. The more you exercise, you have gains in performance. So you definitely want to exercise, but what you don't realize is that the harder you exercise, the more oxygen you're breathing in. Because the harder you breathe, you're breathing in more oxygen, right? And oxygen creates ATP, which is the energy that you need to be able to run and do what you do. But about 2 to 5% are converted to free radicals. And that's kind of a buzzword that people talk about, but I'm not sure that people really understand what's happening. So if you go back to high school chemistry, some of you may not have had high school chemistry yet, but you're going to be a step ahead when you get there. A healthy atom has 2 electrons. Electrons come in pairs, right? And so every electron kind of has a buddy. So a free radical is an atom that's missing an electron. And when it's missing an electron, it becomes unstable. And it'll crash into whatever electron is next to it, and it'll steal an electron from that. And then that molecule becomes unstable. And it'll crash into something. So all of that stealing of electrons creates damage in your cells. So that's what free radicals are. And free radical damage results in oxidative stress. That's a fancy word for that free radical damage of stealing electrons over and over and over. And oxidative stress is a big fancy word for aging. Anytime you have stress happening in your body, it really means you're aging faster. Is there anyone in here that wants to age faster? Maybe you're too little, kids. And a perfect example of this is, think about presidents, right? When they go into office, everyone has seen those pictures of what they look like when they go into office and what they look like 4 years later. That is oxidative stress at work, okay? And stress does that to you. What we don't realize is that exercise creates that same stress. It's just called oxidative stress. So it's aging your body on the inside faster. And nobody wants to age faster. So antioxidants, the way to combat this is to eat a whole lot of antioxidants. Antioxidants are molecules that have an extra electron. So a free radical bumps into an antioxidant, it takes that extra free radical and then both of them are neutralized. And there's no harm, no foul. Okay? But who knows where you get antioxidants? Good guess. Antioxidants come from fruits and vegetables. Your body really doesn't make its own antioxidants, you have to eat them. So has anyone heard of, you want to eat 17 to 9 servings of fresh, raw fruits and vegetables every single day? That's why. Because you have to eat enough antioxidants to combat all that free radical damage. Because it's not just exercise that creates those free radicals, just breathing. Every time you breathe in oxygen, there's a small amount of that oxidative stress that's happening. And you want to combat that. So you want to eat a lot of fresh, raw fruits and vegetables, because that's where those antioxidants come from. When you cook fruits and vegetables, you're killing a lot of the antioxidants, unfortunately. And over 250 acute and chronic conditions, basically of the diseases that we're familiar with in the U.S., are attributed to oxidative stress. That aging makes parts of your body age faster, which makes your body not work the way it's supposed to. And that's really what disease is. Your body isn't working the way that it's supposed to. So you might be thinking, oh, I need to take an antioxidant supplement, right? Well, that would seem logical, but I want to put this up here. These are nutrition facts for 2 different things. This one has 1% of vitamin A, 11% of the recommended daily allowance of vitamin C, 1% of calcium, 1% of iron. It probably doesn't look like it would be that healthy, does it? And this one has 100% of all of these nutrients, so it looks like it would be super healthy. But here, this one is, if an apple had a nutrition label, that's what it would look like. And if this is a nutrition label for a vitamin supplement. So apples actually have thousands and thousands and thousands of nutrients in very small amounts that all work together. And that's what your body needs, because all the nutrients, the 100% of those nutrients on this side, they need those other thousands and thousands of nutrients in order for your body to recognize them and to know what to do with them. So even though the vitamin supplement seems like a good idea, it's actually not, because your body doesn't know what to do with them. So isolated fractionated vitamins, which is what a vitamin supplement is, are not the answer. Americans don't have a vitamin deficiency, we have a whole food deficiency. And I love this. In 1991, there were 12,455 phytonutrients, which are the nutrients that are in fruits and vegetables, that had been identified. Today, what's that, 25 years later, they've discovered almost 40,000 nutrients. And they're just still discovering more and more and more and more. You can't get that in a vitamin pill because they don't know how to make those synthetically. But you can get them in fruits and vegetables. And so the American Cancer Society, back in my day, I'm so old saying that, they used to talk about early detection, right? That was the best hope you had against cancer, was detecting it early. And I don't mean to diminish early detection, it's important. You know, if you are going to have to get cancer, to detect it early rather than later. But now they talk about reducing your risk. If you reduce your risk, that means you may not have to get cancer in the first place. And how do you do that? You eat a whole lot, a big wide variety of fresh fruits and vegetables every single day. And here's one way, I'm going to just do all of this now. One way is with a tower burn. And tower burns are so much fun. It's an aeroponic growing system. It stands about 4 to 5 feet tall, and it has a diameter of about 3 feet wide. It has a basin at the bottom that holds water and a nutrient solution that has all natural earth and sea minerals, and it's all the nutrients that plants need to grow and thrive. And then it has this kind of tower that has 20 or 28. You can get an extension so it'll have 28 different slots around the outside. And you put seedlings into those slots. So you can grow 28 different plants on this tower. And twice as fast as traditional gardening because it's aeroponic, and it tastes amazing. If you don't have a garden at home, the fruits and vegetables that you get at the grocery store are missing half of their nutrients because they're picked green and shipped halfway across the country, and they're missing half of their taste because they're shipped green and transported halfway across the country. Things on the Tower Garden taste amazing. So this is a great way, if you enjoy eating fruits and vegetables, this is a great way to have them very inexpensively right on your back patio. But if you don't necessarily enjoy eating fruits and vegetables, there's another option. And it's called Juice Plus. So Juice Plus is the whole food nutrition of 30 different fresh fruits and vegetables. Things like beets and kale and spinach and cabbage and bilberries and elderberries. Is there anyone in here that eats those every day? And you might be going, how do they do that, right? Because it's in a capsule, a pretty small pill, or in gummies for kids. So they take high quality fruits and vegetables. They're tested every step of the way to make sure there's no pesticides, herbicides, there's no contaminants in them at all. And then they're juiced, they're actually ground up. So I think of like a big, huge Vitamix. And they put the whole fruit or vegetable in there. So for oranges, the peel is in there as well. Because there's actually a lot of nutrients in the peel, but we don't usually eat them. So they're ground until they're a liquid. And then they have a process that takes the water out. And the sugar actually bonds with the water and comes out naturally. So you're left with a powder with the nutrition from all of those fruits and vegetables. And I'll tell you, one of my best friends told me about Juice Plus for over 6 years before I ever thought that I might need it. Because I was an athlete. You know, my whole life I was an athlete. I was healthy, I was young, I was fit, and I never believed in vitamins. I never did any of that kind of stuff. Until some things changed for me and I realized I had a huge history of cancer in my family, and that scared me. And I started doing research on how to avoid cancer. And you know, that slide that said all of those fruits and vegetables, that's the way to reduce your risk of getting cancer. But I didn't eat fruits and vegetables. I didn't like them, and I wasn't feeding them to my kids, and I knew it wasn't going to just magically happen that tomorrow we were going to all start eating fruits and vegetables, right? It would be great if it worked that way, but it just doesn't. So I started taking Juice Plus, and I have 4 kids. My oldest was 5.5 when my youngest one was born. So I was a crazy, stressed out mama. And my youngest was about 9 months old at the time. I was heavy because I couldn't lose my baby weight. I mean, by 9 months, you know, it should be kind of coming off by then at least. But I couldn't. The only way I knew how to lose weight up until that point was exercising a ton. And I couldn't exercise. I literally would go run one day and it would be a week before my body could recover enough. Because it had been through a lot having all those babies. And I was sleep deprived. And I wasn't eating well. You know, I mean, there just were a lot of things at play. So when I started taking Juice Plus, one of the first things I noticed, really just a few weeks into taking it, was I stopped walking into rooms trying to remember why I had gone in there. Has anybody here ever done that? And that whole brain fog that I was living in just started lifting. And I started feeling like myself again. And I was able to start exercising again, which for me, that's how I maintain my sanity. So I could go run. First of all, I had the energy to want to go run, and I could recover. So the next day I could run again. And the next day I could swim, or I could do something. So I ended up losing a lot of weight. And Juice Plus is not a magic weight loss cure, but it gave me the energy that I needed to be able to exercise. And it allowed my body to recover so that I could exercise consistently. I also started sleeping better, and I was able to become the kind of mom that I wanted to be. It helped. I have so much more patience because I had all this nutrition in my body, and my body was working the way it was supposed to, instead of that stressed out person that I look back, honestly, nobody would have wanted to be around me. And with Juice Plus, there's actually over 20 years of published research showing that Juice Plus actually gets into your bloodstream. All those nutrients get into your bloodstream. So they draw blood on people, and they measure the nutrient levels, and then they put them on Juice Plus for 28 days. And they draw blood again, and they look at the nutrient levels. And after 28 days of taking Juice Plus, those nutrient levels have gone sky high. So they know that it's actually getting into your bloodstream. Has anybody here ever taken a multivitamin and you have like bright yellow pee? That's because your body's filtering it all out. It's really actually very hard on your kidneys because your body sees all those isolated nutrients as toxins, and it's working overtime to filter them out. With Juice Plus, you won't notice that. It actually gets into your bloodstream. It reduces oxidative stress. So that's huge. You know that premature aging that we talked about? Juice Plus reduces that significantly. And for athletes, that's huge because it's not gonna do that to your body. It reduces key biomarkers of systemic inflammation. Systemic inflammation is kind of the first step towards major disease, and Juice Plus reduces that. So if you're somebody that's dealing with arthritis or any itis, that's typically inflammation, and that's what causes the pain. Juice Plus will help that inflammation. It protects DNA and reduces markers of DNA damage. That's what caught my attention. That's what finally got to me because I don't want to get cancer. I'm not going to sit around and I know that it's in my family, but I'm not going to sit around and wait for it to hit me. I'm going to do whatever I can to avoid it. And that's what spoke to me. It actually helps to repair that DNA damage. It supports microcirculation of the skin. For us women, how much do we pay on all these skincare products for microcirculation? Juice Plus does it from the inside out. It supports cardiovascular wellness. So remember when I said you want your blood pumping to its maximum efficiency? Juice Plus will help do that, and it supports healthy gums. So your dentist will love you. So one study that I want to go through really quickly was done at the Medical University in Graz, Austria. And this is with their Cobras, it's like their version of the Navy SEALs. And is anyone here familiar with like the Navy SEALs training program, how intense that is? So in Austria, the Cobras do the same thing. And it's very confusing right now, but this is a test they did at the baseline, at the very beginning of the study. And this bar, and, so these two are the placebo group, and then these two are the Juice Plus group. And this is the one that was at 70% VO2 max, and this was 80% VO2 max. What that means is the light blue and the yellow were sort of a light form of exercise, a moderate form of exercise. The darker blue and the red were very intense exercise. Does that make sense? So before exercise, they're measuring that free radical damage, the damage to actually the proteins from the oxidative stress of exercise. So everyone started off about the same, about probably 0.35 is what I would call that. Immediately after exercise, the two groups that did the intense exercise, their damage went up. Okay, and that's what you want because that's what signals your body to repair. Okay, so when you exercise, you want to see that spike because that's what signals your body, oh, I need to, send nutrients there and do what I need to do to repair and make those muscles stronger. But 30 minutes after exercise, that damage is still there. But 30 hours after exercise, it's pretty much gone back down to normal. And that's what you want. So this is at baseline. This is the very first day that they did any sort of exercise. And remember, the damage level was at about 0.35. So this is at week 28. So this is 7 months into the study. So that's probably a pretty typical sports season. So this is the group that was on placebo. So the group that did moderate exercise and intense exercise, they're starting off above 0.5 of the damage, which that's significantly increased, right, from that baseline. Because that damage, if you don't repair it, it's gonna accumulate and it doesn't go away. So before they even start exercising, they have this level of damage that's in there. The 2 Juice Plus groups, their level is actually even below where they started. It's at probably, a little below 0.3. Immediately after exercise, look how sky high the intense group is, whereas the groups taking Juice Plus, that damage is maintained. And then even 30 minutes afterwards, their level has gone up. And that's typically what happens if you have you guys heard of delayed onset muscle soreness? That's where you don't get sore the next day, but you get sore 2 days later. That means that your body, that oxidative stress is still occurring, even though you've stopped exercise, it's still occurring for that next 24 hours until you start getting sore. And you don't want that. That's not good. It's a really, really bad sign. And then 30 hours later, these 2 have gone down, but they're still very elevated. So what this means is Juice Plus actually balances that oxidative stress, and it takes care of it. It provides those antioxidants so that it doesn't accumulate. When these people are getting to this level of oxidative stress after 30 hours of rest, that's an injury waiting to happen, or that's a cold or a flu just waiting to happen, because your body it doesn't have the resources it needs to protect yourself. Does that make sense? So one thing I want to talk about, this is my favorite study. It's called the Children's Health Study. For anyone in here, for anyone, when an adult buys Juice Plus, a child can get it for free. And you're participating in this study, so they give your child Juice Plus for free, and you basically fill out a questionnaire every 4 months. It's very simple. But after taking Juice Plus, kids are more increased, they have an increased awareness of their health, which I think is one of the most important things we can teach our kids. They're eating less fast food and drinking fewer soft drinks. And there's actually some science to that. My friend who told me about Juice Plus, when I started taking it, she said, "You're going to start craving fruits and vegetables." And I thought she was blowing smoke. I was like, yeah, whatever. I literally rolled my eyes at her. But it's true. You crave what you eat the most of. And when you get that nutrition of all those fruits and vegetables into your bloodstream, you often start craving fruits and vegetables. Fewer doctor's visits, taking less prescription and over-the-counter medication, missing less school or work, and almost all of them have noticed some sort of positive benefit. My thought is the people who didn't take it regularly. So what does this mean to you, right? We kind of covered a lot of research and a lot of kind of technical information. Well, I'll just show you. These are my kids. That's them today. This was this summer at Topgolf. And it means that for me, that I can be active with my kids. We can go do fun things. For Thanksgiving, we're going to the beach in Florida, and I'll be out there body surfing with them, right? When I was a teenager, my parents weren't active like that. And my goal, and I tell especially my daughters, I tell them all the time, and they think I'm joking, but I'm serious, that I plan on dancing at their children's weddings. And I'll be like the crazy grandma. Their kids are going to be going out to them, "Mom, can you make grandma sit down? She's embarrassing us." But that's my goal. That's what I want. But I know I have to take care of myself now if I want that to happen. Because I'll tell you, both of my parents passed away in the last 2 years. Neither of my parents even saw my oldest graduate from high school. And that's not what I want. So, and then just really quickly, so my son plays tennis at Colorado Christian. My daughter is a diver at Florida State. And I'll just tell you her Juice Plus story. So she was 5 when we started taking Juice Plus. So she doesn't really know life as any different than taking Juice Plus and being healthy. And when she was in high school, she's a very good diver. She's a platform diver. She dives off the 10-meter tower. And it's beautiful to watch. It can be scary. But we would go to nationals, and every kid that dove on a tower was taped up with that K tape. And a part of it is because every time they dive, they hit the water at like 30 to 35 miles an hour. And that's hard on your body. But my daughter was the only one there that had never been taped. She really hadn't had any injuries. And I always thought it had to do with the fact that she took Juice Plus her whole life and she could repair from all of that damage over and over and over and over. But I never had any proof until last year she went to college. And I sent her to college and I sent Juice Plus with her. But I wasn't there to make sure she took it. And honestly, she's a kid who's had it her whole life. She just took it for granted. You know, how good she felt. She didn't know any different. So she didn't take her Juice Plus. And she came home at Christmas time and was telling me that she had inflammation in her wrist. And I was like, what's that from? You know, and I just kind of casually said, have you been taking your Juice Plus? And she just kind of looked at me with that look she's given me since she was 2 when she knows she's in trouble. I said, Casey, you really need to take it, you know, and we just kind of left it, like it didn't occur to me to give her this big long lecture about it. Well, in February, I went to their ACC championships, and I get there, and she's down on the deck, and she has K tape on her shoulders and a wrist guard on her wrist, and I'm like, what the heck? Well, she hadn't been taking her Juice Plus. She looked like all the other divers that were all taped up with injuries. So I know for a fact that that's what kept her injury free. So you bet, after that, we had a big long talk. She's there on a diving scholarship. And, you know, I just said, you know, if you're injured, they're not going to continue your scholarship. And if you don't have your scholarship, you're probably not going to continue at Florida State. You're going to come home and go somewhere in Houston. So she takes some Juice Plus now. So Juice Plus also has third-party credibility. They have NSF certification, which is an outside certification that guarantees what's on the label is exactly what's in Juice Plus. And every fruit and vegetable is a complex disease-fighting machine. It's our own personal defense force. So every time you eat fruits and vegetables, you're getting analgesics, antibacterial, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antiseptic, and even anti-sunburn in those fruits and vegetables. So I want to encourage you to talk to the person who invited you here. And if you're not eating, 7 to 9 servings for you athletes, it needs to be more like 13 to 16 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. If you're not doing that, talk to the person who invited you here and ask them how you can get started taking Juice Plus. Thank you.
Janis, if I had 2 boys and 2 girls, and when they told me my kids were going to crave fruits and vegetables, I laughed at them. I said, really? No way. And just about 3 to 4 months, they came home and they were like, Mom, those Dr. Peppers don't taste good. Those Oreos, how we ate. Oreo cookies don't taste good. And so to this day, they're all healthy. They eat lots of fruits and vegetables and salads, and we've just really been blessed. I just encourage you to take a really good look at this product, and whether you want the product or not, start eating more vine ripened fruits, vegetables, and berries every single day while you finish up.
And we have a display back there. Juice Plus comes in capsules and gummies, and we have the bottles and the packages so that you can see it. We have a protein shake, and we have protein bars. We have the tower garden, and there's some research back there that you can look at on your way out. So thank you all again for coming. We hope you learned something, and again, appreciate you being here. Good job.